Hello, my name is Joe Aidonidis. Today I'm going to be teaching you about video editing. This class is for beginners or people who are interested in taking a look at the fundamentals of editing video. So what will you learn in this class? Well, you're not going to be an amazing editor by the end of this class, but you will know some basic tools and layouts for generic editing software that will allow you to take the first steps into dabbling with editing video footage and allow you to take chances and creative choices to start learning video editing. The first thing you need to know is what you don't know. So this is what this class is. So a little bit about myself. I am a filmmaker. I'm a creative person. I love film. And my God, I love editing. I am excited that I get to do it for a living. I create promotional materials. I create documentaries, short films. I create my own video essays, record live music, theater performances, just anything that I can. Any day I can work with a camera and be editing is a great day. So that's a little bit about me. So what we're going to do is we're going to go over what you can expect to see when you start video editing. And what I mean by that is generally every editing software works on some basic principles. And they are, you're editing in timeline. You're going to see a timeline. You have a preview monitor. You're going to be able to see the video. You have bins. That's where you store your media. And you have tools to be able to cut and manipulate your footage. Now we're going to take a look at that in my editing software of choice, which is Premiere Pro. It's by Adobe. But all of these things that I've listed, the timeline, the preview monitor, the bins, the tools, they can be found in mostly, I'd say 99% of editing software, whether it's iMovie or Final Cut or Avid, which is an old school editing software, a timeline, a preview monitor, bins, and tools. So let's take a look at that. I'm going to screen share a video project that I've been working on. It's a short clip. It's about 1 minute long. We'll watch that. And as you watch it, you'll be able to see how I've put things together on a timeline. We'll watch it and then I'll go over exactly what all four of those things are, and we can start diving into some of these fundamentals. So let me do a screen share here. Screen share. All right. So you should be able to see my editing software. I'm just going to make this preview monitor big. So before we watch this, here's a timeline. Here is the preview monitor. Right now it's black. You have your tools here and a bin. Again, these are universal things that are going to be across all editing softwares. So let's watch a clip and then we'll talk about those things. Here we go. 60 seconds. Oh, one last note. I'm going to leave. Usually I would make, this is the video here. Usually I make that full screen so you can watch everything. I'm going to leave this size and I'm going to let you watch what's happening down here. This is where everything comes together. So you can see how it's all built out. No more stalling. Here we go. Ready?
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space and then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it. So rather than having studs, and the connection, way back when, in the 1860s, when this house was made, maybe the 1850s, they just take an 1.5 inch thick piece of wood and another piece of wood, plank. It's like a stockade. The thing's built like a fort. This is actually where I live. We were building a hotel, and we tore it out.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. I'm a little bit like a fort builder. This is how I look at some of my sons. One of them's a fort builder, one of them's a fort player. One loves to make the fort and loses interest immediately when it's done, and the other one comes in and loves to populate it with an imaginary story and play in it. And I'm the former. I like to make the fort.
Okay, so it's a short piece. This is part of a longer series that I'm putting together. So that 1 minute might be part of a film that's 10 minutes long. But A, I hope you enjoyed it. And B, I hope you were watching down here. If you can still see the screen being shared. You're seeing a lot of things going on here. You're seeing a lot of essentially rectangles. You're seeing a lot of squiggly lines. Now, let's explain what that is. Again, where are we? We're in our timeline. You previewed the video here in the preview monitor. So this line here is our cursor. This indicates where we are in time. If I hit play, you see it move forward 1 second at a time. 1 second equals 1 second. It's moving forward in time. Now, when you have the cursor paused or stopped over any part of the timeline, it will just go to that exact moment, right? So if I'm looking for when he's sitting on the couch, I can scrub through here and, oh, right here. So this line indicates exactly the frame, the moment that he is in this situation. So let's break it down a little further. What are we seeing along this timeline? We're seeing these lines go across, and all these are rows. And you'll notice that they're numbered here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And down here, they're numbered again, 1, 2, 3, and so on. V1, 2, 3, A1, 2, 3, video 1, 2, 3, audio 1, 2, 3. So as we move through this timeline, you see that on channel 2, you have some footage here, and then you have some stuff underneath. Now, if I take this away, I'm just going to highlight this by clicking on it, highlight, delete. You can see what's underneath that footage. I'm going to Control Z. Control Z, if you don't know, like many softwares like a word processor, Control Z or Apple Z in Mac world, just is a quick undo. So you don't have to know that right away, but it's just a Joe's hot tip right there. So anything that goes above another clip, according to these things, these 1, 2, 3, these tracks, that's what gets seen. Anything that's below it doesn't get seen. It's like it doesn't exist. So if I take this and I actually drag it to number 3, now I don't see this clip under here. And that's important. So, you know, to get a little philosophical, filmmaking and editing in particular is about collaging time. It's like taking bits of photos and newspaper cuttings and artistic materials, and instead of making a two-dimensional physical piece, you're making a collage that travels from point A to point B in time. And sometimes in that collage, you start with, well, I'm gonna mute all these. You start with just this baseline. What is the story? I'm gonna mute this. All these, actually, I'm just gonna delete them. Delete, right? All of this is built on this man just talking on the couch. If you take away all that layer, it's just this guy just talking, right? So all this.
And loses interest immediately when it's done, and the other one comes in and loves to populate it with an imaginary story and play in it. And I'm the former. I like to make the fort.
So you just see a man talking there. I'm going to Control Z again because I don't want to lose my word. You just see a man talking there, and all this on top of this guy is what we call B-roll. The A-roll this refers to film. They would have an A-roll, the A-roll of film. This is the stuff. This is the story. We captured these interviews. This is the action of what is supposed to be here. And then they'd have B-roll. They have to cover up dirty cuts. You know, there's this space here that we covered up with B-roll. That B-roll is so important because it's an opportunity for you to reinforce what the A-roll is saying. This man is talking about building things. He likes to build things. He's making an analogy to his father, his parenthood, being a parent to boys who also like to build things. And you're learning about him. He's a guy who likes to be outdoors. He's a guy who has access to construction sites. He's a guy who likes creativity and really is letting you know what he's into. So like that's the power of not only letting someone talk in an interview, and again, oops, I'm going to delete these. Again, just seeing him on the couch and he could just say that. Now you get to show it. And that's like a fundamental principle of filmmaking. Show, don't tell. If he can just sit there and just give you the philosophy and you can see him do his daily life and you're watching him make things happen, that's much better than someone just looking into a camera and saying, hello, I do things, I make things happen. It's pretty boring, right? So that's what this collage of time is. Now, we've gone down the road pretty far. You go, okay, Joe, that's neat. How the heck did you put it together? Don't worry about this. This is just my computer being weird. So how did you put it together, Joe? Well, first, you start with, oh, let me just grab this. In its infancy, this clip was just interview. It was just him sitting on a couch. And we see him here. Don't mind all this. I'm just cleaning this up so I can do a quick example for you. Sorry about all the little mess here. You see him here, and this is how long the clip is, right? It goes from here to here. This rectangle is a representation of time, this video. And if you look here, it's got, this is a representation of him, right, in here. And this squiggly line is a waveform. Now the waveform is representation of how loud or quiet something is and how long that sound lasts. So if you heard a boom of a cannon or something, it go boom, right? And you see this spike there, and then it would, you know, kind of divvy out. So if I hit play here,
you know, provide security and all of those things. So I actually don't think of myself quite in the terms that you described as being.
So there we go. Like as it's going through, you can actually see a representation of his voice saying something. Now here, let's start with these tools. We've seen the timeline. We can see it in the preview monitor. Now tools. Tools here on the side. We have a select tool, and as you hover over things, it will tell you what it is. Again, these are universal tools in almost all editing softwares. Timeline, the bin, preview monitor, and tools. You have your selection tool. I'm going to skip some of these. Some of these are unnecessary. Selection tool, your blade tool, your hand tool, and your title tool, right? So if I were to take this blade tool, I've just clicked on it. Now I drag this over the timeline. What does that look like? That's a razor blade. So if I just click anywhere, I'm cutting this up, and you're seeing these little representations of cuts everywhere. So if we use our arrow keys on our keyboard, up, down, left, right, if I hit down, it would just go to the next cut. Now, the razor blade is actually a representation of what a film used to be cut. You would actually have a roll of film, and someone would look through a little box that had it projected into a little tiny thing, and they go, right here, we're gonna cut it. And they take the razor blade, they have a special cutter, they go, boop. And that's how films got cut. Nowadays, I did that, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z. It's all back to normal, right? Undo, undo, undo. Back then, you'd be like, oh, that wasn't the right cut. You take a piece of tape, of clear tape, and you put it back together. You couldn't do that too many times for that reason. So you'd have to really be, okay, I'm really gonna cut this here. Now you can just do it 10,000 times, no problem. That's another thing. If I say I cut this right here, cut this, and I just delete that, it's not gone forever, right? It's still, the file is saved on your computer. Again, Control Z brings it back, but if you were to lose the whole thing, it still exists. Now, let's go through a few other tools and we'll come back to this timeline, how we put it together. So let's delete that. So what I'm doing here is I'm listening for opportunities. So editing is a lot of listening. You're gonna go out, capture a 20-minute interview, or someone's filmed it for you and they bring it back and they go, here, make something out of this, Joe. All right, so what do I gotta do first? I just gotta sit back, have a cup of tea, and just hit play, fold my arms and listen. Have a notebook and say, what's interesting about this? Good interviewer will say, hey, give me some context, your name, your location, what you do. And so you have a relatively quick understanding of what's going on. Here, I know what's going on. I really just want him to give me a little bit of philosophy about his project. So all that, since I'm the editor and the creator, I don't really need that. So I'm just gonna listen to this a little bit and, let's notice some stuff together.
I actually don't think of myself quite in the terms that you described as being purely in it for the creativity. That's the joy of it. I mean, the joy of it is, for me, the making of the space and then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it,
All right, so I've heard a really great moment there. I really like that idea, and he's summing up a lot of stuff, which is, this is what I really like, the joy of it for me, right? What's important to him? Like what's meaningful to him? The joy of it for me. Okay, let's start there. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go over here, get my blade tool, go right back over here, and I'm gonna find, where did he start that statement, right? You got your blade tool, okay. You take your timer thing, maybe it was over here.
Of the space and then
no. And by the way, to make this start, I'm just hitting spacebar, or you can also hit play.
People or just
right? In editing software, sometimes there's more than one way to do the same thing, but spacebar, it's like watching something on YouTube. You hit spacebar or you hit the play button, right? So, okay, I went through there. That doesn't start right. All right.
That's the joy of it. I mean, the joy of it is, for me.
Okay, right there. And you would do this. You go, all right, well, maybe right here. And you make a cut. Because you can see that representation. Again, representation, you can kind of see a gap. I'm gonna undo. You can kind of see this gap here. This is like where he's taking a breath and like not talking. So I'm gonna do this. And I'll go grab my blade tool again, and I'll hit once. And I'm just gonna highlight this by dragging across these things. And then I'll hit delete. All right, so I'll just play this back and let's just see what happens. Starts with nothing, there's no footage there. Play it back.
I mean, the joy of it is, for me, the making of the space.
Great, that's so close, but let's play it back one more time. I'm gonna hit the up arrow that goes to the beginning of the clip. Remember, down arrow goes that way, up arrow goes this way, right? So I'm gonna hit one more time. Let's hear that.
I mean, the joy of it is, for me.
I don't like that. He goes, right? That's not good. So we're gonna zoom in. Again, universal tools, things like the plus and minus button on your keyboard, right next to the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0, plus minus on the top right of your keyboard. Minus, zoom out. plus the zoom in, right? That's going to be so key, because now I'm going to just make this little cut. And I see this, like, this is where he's going, blah, blah, blah. There's a little gap, then he starts talking. So I'm going to take my blade tool. I still have it on. Hit cut here, drag, and delete. Now let's hear it.
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space.
Perfect. Love it. Okay, so then we got to do that to the end, right? So we just listen.
Knowing that people get to enjoy it, you know?
Sorry, let's try that one more time.
And then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it, you know?
Again, hitting space bar to start and stop. And I hear him go, again, let's grab our blade tool. And it was around here, he stopped. Selection tool, drag, delete.
People get to enjoy it, you know?
Oh, almost. Again, grab your blade tool, hit plus, 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 going in, cut, drag, delete, and listen to it one more time, right? Get this cursor right to the beginning of this clip and hit spacebar.
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space, and then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it.
That's a really nice thing, right? So let's look at a few other tools. You have, what we got here? We got our hand tool. Where am I? I'm looking for my, oh, okay. Never mind, it's not a tool. So as you move through your timeline, again, timeline tools, bin, preview monitor, let's say 1,000 times. Again, universal across many, many editing softwares. You are, you're looking at this thing and you get to the end here, and what is happening? You see the cursor? It's going from the arrow that we all love and know, and at the end, well, what's this? What is this bracket? This is, again, a universal thing. If I go here and wait for this to turn to that little bracket here, if I click and hold and drag to the right, I'm actually making that clip come back. If I drag this way, I'm getting rid of it. And this is also a new tool. So we've gone over the selection tool, which is right here. We've gone over the blade tool here, which cuts. Control Z, undo. And now this is trim. So I can fine tune things by going to the end and basically dragging and dropping the ends of clips. Pretty cool. Now you can do the same thing with a blade tool. If this clip is too long, I could just grab my blade and cut right there, or Control Z, Control Z. Oh. Or I could just go to the end and just drag the whole thing. Again, multiple ways to do the same thing in editing. So here we are. Let's just take a moment to breathe. All right, we're covering a lot of ground really fast. Again, what this class is just showing you fundamentally how to manipulate footage. Now we're going to take a quick break from actually editing to talk about how the heck you get this into your editing software, right? So let's pretend, let's start from 0. Let's pretend you've gone down to your icon. You can't really see it in my screen share, but I've hit my icon for Premiere Pro. I've opened it up, or maybe I've opened Final Cut, or maybe I've opened up iMovie. Again, you get shown all this mystery stuff. It's just blank, right? And it's intimidating to look at. You go, how the heck do I start editing? But generally, you have down here your timeline. Usually in the top right corner, you have your, it says program, but this is the preview monitor. And this is the bin. This is the bin with all of your media. Right here, this is your tools. Again, universal. Sometimes the tools will be on this side. Sometimes the bin will be more over here. It's fine. Generally, you're gonna know. And they'll give you little prompts. Import media to start. Drop media here to create a sequence. It's telling you what you can do. Import media simply means, hey, take your video files, drag and drop them right here, and then they're gonna be in the software and you can start manipulating them. So 2 ways of doing that. One, you go to a folder where your files are stored, you just quickly drag and drop them. Or 2, you usually can go to File, Import, and now you can search your computer. Now, the way I store things, and which I highly recommend that you do, is I create a folder specifically for the project that I'm working on. So you'll see here, I have a lot of different things. I have a documentary about addiction that I'm working on. I have something for the clerk. I have something for a show that I'm working on, and so on. Now, this folder is called Taurus. It's for the company I'm working for. I've actually created something with the date. I highly recommend that you start dating everything that you make from now on, whether it's your homework or whether it's some creative project, because in 5 years you're gonna go, where's that thing? And you can look back using the dates. So I've created something called a folder called Taurus. And in here, there's a lot of stuff, right? Media, project, SFX, stills, exports. What the heck is that? Project is simply where I'm saving the project to, right? If I go in here, you can see the names of the files, right? If I go into media, well, what are all these? Day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, SFX. What the heck is that? If I double click on this, all video files. Now, I know a lot of people who take their SD card reader and then their SD card, and they plug it in to their laptop, and then they just drag that onto their desktop. And then they go, now I'm going to drag it into the editing software. You move those files, you delete them accidentally, you're going to be in a world of hurt. You're not going to like that. I highly recommend you make one folder that says my project or the name of the project or working title, movie 1. And then in there you go media. And if you have multiple days, label the multiple days, drag and drop these bad boys in here, right? So I've gone here, I can drag all these in, I have so many, or I can just click one and hit open. And there it is, there's the clip, it's right there. Now, autosave happened. Now I can drag this right here, and boom, a sequence is formed automatically. Now you're ready to do all those things. I have one clip here, so it's not, it's not a lot to work with, but I can still trim this clip by dragging the ends. I can zoom into it by hitting the plus sign. I can grab the blade tool and cut it up anywhere I want. I can undo by hitting Control Z. And if I drag and drop, I can highlight everything and delete and start over again. Those are some fundamentals right there. So let's go back to what I was working on, the sequence I showed you earlier, right? So here we are. Zooming out again. If I zoom out, I can show you live of the work that's going on, but we're gonna just focus on this little clip, right? Remember this guy? He walked across the bridge. Then he was in this house explaining how old houses were built. And then the reveal, you see him on the couch. Nice dude. Now what's going on in here? Now let's just mute everything. So again, we're talking about these tracks. These tracks are also mutable, just like music and sound is mutable. This M, right? M means mute. We'll hit all those, and then let's play it back. Oh, by hitting spacebar, it didn't hit the spacebar, excuse me. Okay, I'm seeing him, but I'm not hearing him. right? By this point, he was talking. So I'm gonna hit spacebar as pause, unmute these by hitting the M's. You can see that it's activated the mute by it being highlighted. I'm gonna go over here, and it's kind of a weird thing. You're gonna poke all these eyes. All these things are muted. Now the video is muted. Oh, the eyes are crossed out. Toggle track output. Track output, or can you see the track? Can you see the video? Now I'm gonna hit play one more time. Ready?
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space, and then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it. So rather than having...
Okay, what did you hear? Think about this. What did you hear? You hear in the beginning, let's play back a little bit. You hear some outdoor sound, you hear some running water. And then you hear him starting to talk. And then you hear him talking in the workspace, and you hear like a saw going off, right? All that should be considered when you're editing. So all those things are a combination of these three tracks. So if I hit the S here, that's solos. Just listen to this. Hearing water. Then you hear the woods, you know, just some nature sounds. Now if I solo this.
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space, and then watching people, or just knowing that people get to enjoy it.
So by themselves, they don't really make sense. Just ambient outdoor noise doesn't make sense. And then the sound of him talking is fine, but it doesn't make sense. Let's unmute and watch one more time. And now really pay attention to what you see and hear. Ready?
The joy of it is, for me, the making of the space, and then watching people.
Those three clips, let's break it down. You hear the water, he's walking over water. You hear the bridge. It cuts to him walking in the woods. Then you're hearing the woods. And then he's at this house, and then you don't hear anything. And the whole time you're hearing him talk. This is called sound design, right? So again, just like we talked about in the beginning, things that get stacked on top of each other for video, you only see that top video. For audio, you can just stack those things. You can have 100 different things of audio going at the same time. Now, that allows you to create some pretty interesting things. So let's go here. I'm actually going to mute this track where these are. These are all my sound effects down here. I'm going to mute that. And like, let's just hear this.
Plank, it's like a stockade. The thing's built like a fort. This is actually where
Did you hear that? Did you hear this really abrupt thing?
One
more time.
The thing's built like a fort.
Kind of sounds awful. Now I'm going to unmute this and tell me if you hear the difference.
Plank, it's like a stockade. The thing's built like a fort. This is actually where I live. We're building.
That one little saw tool, right? And we're going to mute it and listen to it one more time. Solo it, rather. I added that in just to transition us. Like, these are the power of editing, right? So it's reinforcing what your mind expects to see. Again, that collage of time. When do you need to hear something? When do you need to see something? When something's transitioning, sometimes you have something leading you out of it. So you hear this environment he's in with all these tools, all these construction guys who you don't see cutting things up, but you have to hear them on the way out, right? So this timeline is that. So let's go over a few things that we talked about today. We have this timeline here with our tracks. We can go as many as we want, but we have 2 tracks here, this one and this one. We have our audio tracks, 1, 2, and 3. This is him talking on site. This is him talking in an interview, which we cut up earlier with him on the couch. And then here are some other sound effects. Some of the sound effects are outside noise, the river, the trees just blowing in the wind, this saw. And you put them all together like this sandwich, and they create this 1-minute piece that hopefully complements what he's saying, tells a story, and helps you not be distracted away from what you're supposed to be taking away from this piece, which is this guy is just talking about his passion. You learn a little bit about him, and you will learn a little bit about what he does. So I think it's successful when it comes to that. And you should be thinking about that when it comes to your projects. So I'm going to stop sharing for a minute, and we're going to load up one more project. Now, I worked on this with a youth group called the Youth Health Collaborative in North Adams, and they were making documentaries about the topics that were important to them. And one of the topics was about discrimination. They want to talk about, you know, generally what they see, and I don't want to give away too much. I'll let the interview speak for itself. We're going to give this a moment to load on my other computer here, and I will let you guys watch this for yourself. So let me start screen sharing again. Again, this is just loading up. Sorry guys. While this loads up, let's talk about a few other things, and I will say this again at the end. A lot of people always ask, what is good free software, right? And I'm burying this gem of information at the end of things. If you have a Mac, iMovie, go ahead, use iMovie. It's great, totally works. Don't be afraid of it. If you have a PC, it's a little harder. You might have to go download something, but I recommend 2 things. One is OpenShot Video Editor. So Google OpenShot Video Editor. It's free. You have to download it. Be careful what you download on the internet, but OpenShot Video Editor. Have to check my notes. OpenShot Video Editor. That's for PC. Another free PC video editing software is VSDC Free Video Editor. Very catchy. VSDC Free Video Editor. Now, if you are able to purchase or get a license for Premiere Pro, that's great. I often recommend it. If you are going to college, maybe there's some 18-year-olds with us, 17, 18-year-olds. If you have a college ID, you can get a substantial discount. Instead of $600 a year, it's like, I think $200 a year. You get the whole Adobe suite. It's amazing. You get After Effects, and you get Illustrator and Photoshop, and it's an amazing thing. And the cool thing is it comes with 2 licenses. So if you have a friend and they give you $100 and you pay $100, you guys can both split it and have everything in the Adobe suite. I'm talking about like 30 different products. I'm not a sponsored guy by any means. I'm just telling you what I've done in the past. So instead of paying $600, you can pay $100 to get every single thing in the Adobe suite. I highly recommend it. Or if you have a friend who's in college, text them and be like, hey, let's do this together. So iMovie is great. VSDC free video software, video editor is great. OpenShot Video Editor. Those are my best recommendations for someone who just wants to start out and needs something. So let's go back here. Okay, we're going to go back and again, watch a little stuff here. I'm going to share my screen again, sharing. All right, share, where's Sharon? Oops, okay, so here we go. Where is, Not even I know how to edit anymore. Here we go. Sorry. So here's our preview. Here's our timeline. And sorry, I'm going to drag this over here. This is where all of our clips are. You can see a little clip here and some other stuff that I'm working on. So let's just watch this and see where we're at.
Kind of eliminate this culture of, I guess, ignorance surrounding.
Sorry. Ignore what just happened. That played this clip in the bin here. I'm putting my cursor on the timeline. I'm hitting play. Now let's watch this for maybe 1 or 2 minutes, okay?
I've had a lot of different things targeted my way with discrimination. Being transgender, there's a lot of people within my own family that when I hear about it, they kind of wince or they'll be a little taken back by it. So it really empowers me to know that me sharing my experience and letting others share their experience and feeling comfortable, even with me or with the people around me, it makes me feel a lot better and a lot more strength when talking about something so difficult. So if you feel comfortable, would you like to talk about your heritage, your family, or kind of your roots as like an Indian woman?
I'd love to talk about my family, to be honest. I'm very proud of who I am. Both of my parents were born in northern India. My heritage is considered Punjabi, which is the most northern part of India. My parents worked really hard to come here. They started off with their small businesses and now they're like in a really good small business. And to think that they came from somewhere where that type of stuff wasn't really possible, I'm just very grateful for that.
Is there anything you see your parents go through in regards to their race or anything like that that really strikes you, or is just something that you feel very passionate about?
When my parents were buying a new small business a few years ago, it was a local one, very well known. So my mom was getting trained. She was learning how things worked from the previous owner. And one person, I think it was a police officer who was off duty, he actually comes in and he's talking to the person who was at the register while my mom was doing other stuff around. He says, "Oh, did you hear about the Indians that are taking over this place? They're going to steal everyone's credit card information." And my mom didn't get it at first. My mom hasn't really heard of that stereotype. And she told me that when she came home, and I was like,
All right, I'm pausing this here. Mbika tells a very compelling story, and I don't mean to diminish its importance by pausing halfway through, but for the purpose of our section here, we're just talking about the technical, not the story right now. Chris is a great interviewer. Chris is in high school, and Mbika is just finishing high school. And we did 2 things here. One, we captured a little bit of Chris just talking outside, and we asked him what was important to him, why he wanted to be part of this project, but also what specifically in this project he wanted to explore as you know, as his creative output. And he said, I want to talk to someone about their experiences, and specifically the experiences that pertain to discrimination. And he is very good friends with Mbika. They have a great rapport, and they just sat across from each other and they chatted. And Chris just gave her the floor. He held space for her to be able to talk about these topics. This is all this documentary is. It's just you get introduced to one of our presenters. They tell you what's important to them, and then they show it. They show it by allowing other people to express those ideas for them, which is a really powerful thing. And there's nothing wrong with saying the whole thing's about me. It's an essay. Essays are fantastic. What this group chose to do was just allow people to talk. You know, they have their ideas, they have their beliefs, but they went out in the world and let the beliefs and the ideas live on their own. And I think that creates a really powerful piece. You know, and someday you can see the whole thing, but it's not quite done. But so generally, again, let's look at the technical here. And again, I'm going to beat this drum all night. Timeline, preview monitor, bins for all your media, right? All your clips. Oops, this should be over here. But usually that's over here. All your clips, your media clips, and then your tools, right? So this is just a combination of all those things. Chris, we take Chris's interview, again, go to the end, little brackets show up, drag this way. It's pretty long. It's actually a lot of stuff. Let's zoom out. Let's keep going. And what we chose to put there, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, it's just a little sliver of that, right? So you're looking for those moments, those statements. Be concise. Say one idea once, one idea at a time, one time. That's what good filmmaking is about. Move on to the next idea. Reinforce it when you have to with B-roll, or if you have to punch that button again, you can repeat the statement, but make sure you're doing it in a meaningful way. So again, what are we looking at here? We're looking at tracks with Chris's interview. We're looking at this track with the shot of Chris. In this track, we have Shav and Bika, camera 1, camera 2, we're cutting back and forth. Now, again, I'm just showing you what's possible. Beginning of this tutorial is just teaching you generally what you're going to find when you open up an editing software, whether it's Final Cut, iMovie, Premiere Pro, or One-Shot Video Editor, which is free for PC. You have your timeline, your preview monitor, bin, and tools. All those tools are going to be the same. You're going to be able to cut, trim, you zoom in, zoom out, Control Z, which is undo, you know, manipulate your timeline to build that collage. And now at the end here, you're seeing what's possible. You're stacking things on top of each other. You're making a collage. You're considering sound. Not only what are you seeing, what's the next thing you see, what's the next thing you hear? Should there be music? Should there be background noise? Should there be nothing? Should there be silence? These are all decisions you have to make when you're editing. And I'm going to pause this screen sharing. And the more you make these decisions and the more intentional you are with them, the better your film is. And that's something that I really push for people to do when they are watching YouTube, Netflix, a film in a movie theater, TV. Think about these things. What am I hearing, seeing? What am I feeling? Why do I feel that way? Why do I tear up? Is it the music? Is it the performance? Why do I think that's funny? Is it the sound effect of the banana peel going, you know, all this is intentional. And people will spend hours thinking about that. And I encourage you to spend that time thinking about filmmaking, because it can be pretty rewarding at the end of the day. It's a lot of work, but it's a lot of fun. So again, we covered a lot of ground here. I believe the organizers of this video are going to make my contact information available, and I will always gladly answer an email or some type of message and lend a hand, lend any knowledge I can. But I hope tonight was useful for you. I hope that you guys make awesome films. I really look forward to seeing what you do with it, and best of luck, because I think you know, this medium is just a beautiful thing, and just try the best you can and just make things as much as you can. The next thing's gonna be even better, and the next thing after that is gonna be even better. So just start and just do it today. All right, don't let me preach all night. Thank you, everyone, and good luck, and thank you for being part of this workshop. All right, good night.